Yeah, I do the makeup. It won't be that. Let's talk Saw, the numbers. Let's talk the numbers of Saw. 7 films, and a couple years again, sir. You get killed, but you appear in all 7 films. You even filmed in time, you know. So what was that like, just, you know, being in all the films, but you're a character that dies?
It's not my job to decide. I mean, I had a lot of input into what John Kramer was going to say and how he was going to say it and when he was going to say it. But as far as the direction that the films took, as you know, the Saw films flip back and forth in time, and sometimes, frankly, it's hard even for me to track where we're at in the time frame. But as far as shooting flashbacks, hey, that's fine. It's all in how something's crafted. And I think of a flashback like in Saw 6, there's a scene in, I think the character's name was William. He was an insurance salesman who would not give John Kramer insurance to go to Europe for special treatment for his cancer. For me, that was an opportunity to make a comment on the condition of the medical profession and the insurance industry. And so, we were able to build something that created an interesting moment for me that rang true with a lot of what had been established earlier in the film and some of the concepts that Lee and James had created. To bear those concepts out, I was always trying to continue to create a thread between what came before and what was happening now. And so the jumping around in time, as long as I could make a logical connection for it, then that was up to the writers and the people who were creating the film. And I just always did my best to, they don't need an actor to, you form your own opinion about whether John Kramer is a bad guy or he's not a bad guy. And you form that opinion based on the acts that get performed in the film. They don't need an actor to play those acts and events. They need what actors do. That's in the script. It's in the way the plot plays out. They need an actor. Actors bring some sense of humanity to whatever character you're playing. Look at Tommy Lee Jones in Executioner's Song, plays Gary Gilmore. Look at Marlon Brando in a film called One-Eyed Jacks. I mean, he kills 80 people in that film, but somehow you understand who he is, and that's what they need an actor for. And I always made it my intention to try to create a John Kramer that people could somehow connect to, because even a small connection is huge in a movie theater. If you make a small connection, it resonates. So once again, I've forgotten the question, but I think I remember what you asked me. But I hope I answered it.
You answered it. Every time you think you didn't answer it, you totally answered it. Just so you know. As we can tell, when we listen to you talk, you really get in depth with the character and and connection to it, and that has to come from training. And you did have some training in the beginning when you got into your acting career. Can you talk a little bit about your training in the beginning when you stepped into television and movies?
I did 35 films before I spoke. And in New York, with directors like Woody Allen and worked with Scorsese before I got a speaking role in a Scorsese film. Worked with Scorsese and how was it called? You know, I was walking down the street with a briefcase. Robert De Niro's coming this way toward me, and I'm walking past him with somebody else, and so you know, you might. I wanted to. You know, I was in the business for a long time, doing off-Broadway and off-Broadway plays. I lived in New York for 30-some years. Worked at every imaginable job. You know, I was telling somebody this morning, she was talking about living in a 6-flight walk-up, and I remember painting the underside of a stairwell, fire stairs, not the main stairwell, but the fire stairs of a 21-story building, but the underside of the stairwell. So you had to lie on your back with a roller. And I was so happy to get that job, because it took me about, I don't know, a month and a half to finish this building. And, you know, I was making $12 an hour or whatever it was. But, you know, so you know, she's talking about training. New York's great for that, because you get to see life. And if you want to be an actor, you want to not only do your classes and your training, but it's all about a window into human beings. And you walk out of your building in New York City, a place like New York, and you know, there's a lady with blue hair walking past you this way, and the Attorney General of the United States walking past you that way, and you have a palette of life all around you all the time. You know, you're in the subway and you watch two lovers argue, or someone who's been working all night falling asleep in their seat. Acting is doing. So the more experience that you have, in life, whether it's in school or in jobs or doesn't matter, travel, languages, just whatever experiences you have. I mean, what are you gonna paint with if you got no colors? So, in terms of training, came to New York, decided to be an actor when I was a senior at Boston University. Decided to be an actor, came to New York. Actually was studying journalism at Boston University, and I did a play in my senior year, and then I went to a seminar that Hume Cronin and just sort of like this. Hume Cronin and Jessica Tandy had this seminar at BU, and they were, you may not know who they are or were, but they were a very esteemed, established stage actor, married couple, and they were so refined and so happy. And so I thought, geez, I'd love to have that kind of life, be like those. I don't know, you know, decisions get made in strange ways, you know, and I just remember being impressed with their gentility, and I thought, well, I'd like to do that. Now, little did I know that I would be painting the bottom side of a freaking fire stairwell. You know, I mean, 20 years later. It can take a long time before you begin to work. So, training, neighborhood playhouse, came to New York, had gotten into the neighborhood playhouse, got kicked out of the neighborhood playhouse about 8 months in because I was falling asleep in class because I was working 2 jobs. I was parking cars in the Hilton garage, and I was zip stripping bars in the daytime, taking the finish off of bars. And
Thanks for explaining that.
yeah,
Zip stripping in a bar.
yeah. Oh, yeah. So, I was working long hours and not attending classes in the condition that I should have been attending them in. And so, got kicked out of the neighborhood playhouse, auditioned for the Actors Studio over on 44th Street, and got into the Actors Studio, I think it was 1967. They took 3 men and 2 women. It was my dream to be part of the Actors Studio. And so I trained at the Actors Studio for many years, studying with Ellen Burst and Eli Wallach and Lee Strasberg, obviously. So that was my training. And then why did I do 35 movies without speaking? I wanted to be close to the camera. I wanted to see what they did around the camera. I wanted to see what the actors were doing. I wanted to be as close to the camera as I could be because I wanted to watch the actors and see if I was training at the same time. I mean, I believed that somehow, someday, someone would recognize something in me and I would begin to work. And beyond doing off-Broadway plays for $50 a week or whatever it was I was making. So I wanted to be close to the camera. I wanted to see what the actors were doing. I wanted to see what the directors were doing so that I could get a sense of, can I do this? And so that's why I did those films. And a lot of people said to me, I don't understand why you would do that. You're part of the Actors Studio, you're such a good actor. And I couldn't, they said I couldn't do that. It would be too humiliating for me to be walking in the street with a suitcase or leaning against them. I said, background people are hugely important in films. It's all part of the story. So it's really just about the story. Plus, we made, you made $150 a day or whatever it was to sit in a courtroom and watch Paul Newman in The Verdict. I mean, if you check out, by the way, watch The Verdict with Paul Newman. I'm sitting in that audience for 2 weeks as a courtroom reporter. And who's sitting next to me? Bruce Willis. So somebody else was doing the same thing as I was.
That's what I told the studio guys. Your Easter egg.